There is something about the unexpected that makes people laugh harder than anything else. You could be sitting in front of the television, waiting for a regular answer, something predictable, something that makes sense. But then somebody opens their mouth under the pressure of a game show, and what comes out leaves you rolling on the floor. That is the magic of the Family Feud stage. When people are under pressure, when the lights are shining bright, when the clock is ticking, their brains don't always give the smooth, polished, logical response. No, sometimes the brain just throws out the first wild, raw, unfiltered thought it can find. And those are the moments that turn an ordinary question into an unforgettable comedy show. Pressure has a way of making people say the funniest things. A contestant might have rehearsed at home. They might have practiced with their family. And they might have even promised themselves, I won't be the one to embarrass us on national television. But as soon as Steve Harvey looks them in the eye and says, name something you do when you first wake up in the morning, all of a sudden the brain short circuits. And the answer that comes out is, take a shower with my neighbor. Now, was that logical? No. Was it rehearsed? Absolutely not. But was it funny? Beyond belief. That is the kind of humor that only comes from the unexpected. It's human nature. We laugh hardest when we are surprised. Comedy is built on timing, yes. But more importantly, it is built on the shock of the unexpected. If you already know what's coming, it's not funny anymore. But if someone says something so far out of left field, something no one in their right mind would expect, that's when the whole crowd loses it. And Family Feud is the perfect stage for that type of comedy because the format of the game constantly sets people up to surprise us. Simple questions, simple prompts, high stakes pressure, and suddenly we have comedy gold. What makes it even more hilarious is how ordinary the setup usually is. The question could be as innocent as, name something you put in your mouth but don't swallow. Now, if you're sitting at home, you probably think, well, that's easy. Gum, maybe toothpaste, maybe mouthwash. But when you're standing there in front of the cameras, the lights, and Steve Harvey with that raised eyebrow, your nerves kick in. And before you can filter yourself, you blurt out something outrageous. The kind of thing that makes the audience gasp and then burst into laughter. That's the beauty of pressure. It turns regular people into comedians without them even knowing it. Another layer that makes the unexpected so funny is relatability. When we laugh at someone giving a wild answer, we're not laughing at them, we're laughing with them. Because deep down, we know that if we were in their shoes, under that kind of spotlight, we might blurt out something just as wild. We see ourselves in their awkwardness, in their nervous chuckles, in their desperate attempt to recover. And because we can imagine being in that same position, the laughter comes from a genuine place of connection. Of course, the funniest moments don't just come from the answers themselves, they come from the timing. A contestant says something totally unexpected, and then there's silence. The audience holds its breath. Steve Harvey stares at them like he can't believe what he just heard. That pause, that moment of, did they really just say that, is where the comedy builds. And then the laughter explodes because the unexpected has landed right on target. It's not rehearsed, it's not scripted, it's natural, raw, and completely unfiltered. Think about it. The funniest stories we tell in life are never the ones where everything went according to plan. Nobody laughs when you say, I got up, I ate breakfast, and I went to work. But if you say, I got up, thought it was a weekday, showed up at the office in my pajamas, and realized it was Sunday, everybody laughs. Why? Because it's unexpected. Because it's not what's supposed to happen. Because it breaks the pattern of the ordinary. That same principle is what makes Family FEUD such a treasure chest of hilarious moments. At the end of the day, comedy lives in the surprise. The unexpected turns regular people into stars, ordinary answers into legendary quotes, and a simple family game show into a worldwide laughter factory. That's why the unexpected is always the funniest. It keeps us on the edge of our seats. It keeps us guessing. And it reminds us that sometimes the most unforgettable moments in life are the ones you never saw coming. Would you like me to expand the other two steps? Steve Harvey's reactions steal the show. Laughter connects everyone into 700 words, each two. So you have a full 3-part series in the same style. The truth about Family FEUD is this: it wouldn't be half as funny without Steve Harvey. Yes, the answers from the contestants are hilarious on their own, but what truly makes those moments unforgettable is how Steve reacts. It's not just the words that make us laugh. It's the way Steve Harvey takes those wild, unfiltered answers and turns them into comedy gold. His facial expressions, his body language, his pauses, and his perfectly timed comments transform an already funny situation into a full-on comedy set. Steve Harvey has mastered the art of the reaction. He doesn't need a script, and he doesn't need to force a joke. He lets the moment breathe. A contestant blurts out something crazy, and Steve just stands there, silent, with that classic, "Are you serious right now?" look on his face. He doesn't rush to respond. He doesn't jump in too quickly. He lets the silence do the work, lets the audience soak it in, and then delivers a punchline without even saying a word. Sometimes all it takes is a slow turn of the head, a raised eyebrow, or that signature stare into the camera for the laughter to erupt. His face tells the whole story: shock, disbelief, amusement, and a touch of "Lord, help these people." What makes Steve's reaction so special is that they feel real. He doesn't act like a polished game show host who brushes off awkward answers with a smile and a polite chuckle. Steve reacts like a real person would if they were standing there listening. If someone says something outrageous, he looks at them the same way we would look at a friend who just embarrassed themselves in public. That authenticity is what makes it funny. It's as if Steve becomes the voice of the audience. He says what we're all thinking, except he says it with a punchline that makes the whole thing 10 times funnier. Take, for example, the moments when a contestant gives an answer that makes absolutely no sense. Instead of just moving on, Steve milks the moment. He might walk across the stage in disbelief, drop his cue cards, or stare at the contestant until they're laughing at themselves. Then, just when the laughter is starting to die down, he throws in a one-liner that sends the crowd roaring again. That rhythm, the build-up, the silence, the reaction, and the perfectly timed comeback is what makes him one of the greatest comedic hosts on television. Another thing Steve does brilliantly is create comedy from repetition. If a contestant blurts out something ridiculous, Steve doesn't just react once and move on. He circles back, repeats their answer in that deep, booming voice of his, and exaggerates the moment until it becomes a full skit. He'll act out what they said, play with the wording, even turn it into a running joke for the rest of the game. By the time he's done, that one silly answer has become a highlight that people will remember long after the episode ends. Steve also knows how to use timing to his advantage. Comedy is all about timing and his sense of when to pause, when to speak, and when to just let his face do the talking is unmatched. Sometimes the funniest thing he does is simply stop the game and stare at the contestant like he can't believe what just happened. That pause, that tension, is what makes the laughter explode. The audience is waiting for him to say something. And when he finally does, it lands with maximum impact. His reactions also work because of how unpredictable they are. Just when you think he's about to scold a contestant, he cracks a joke instead. Just when you expect him to laugh, he looks dead serious. That unpredictability keeps the audience engaged and makes every moment fresh. You never know if Steve is going to burst out laughing, fall to the floor, or give one of his classic motivational, "Come on, man," speeches. And that keeps us glued to the screen. At the heart of it all, Steve Harvey's reactions remind us that comedy doesn't always come from a script. Sometimes it comes from being in the moment, being honest, and letting your natural personality shine. Contestants may provide the setup with their outrageous answers, but Steve delivers the punchline with his reactions. Together, they create a chemistry that turns Family Feud into more than just a game show. It becomes a comedy show that brings families together, not just in the studio, but in living rooms all around the world. That's why Steve Harvey's reactions steal the show. It's not just about hearing a funny answer. It's about watching how he transforms that answer into something unforgettable. The look on his face, the silence before the joke, the exaggerated retelling, and the perfectly timed punchlines are what take Family Feud from entertaining to downright legendary. Without those reactions, the show would still be fun, but with them, it becomes the kind of comedy that keeps people laughing for years. Do you also want me to expand the last steps? Lauder connects everyone in 700 words too, so you'll have the full set complete in the same style. Lauder has a language of its own. It doesn't matter where you come from, what culture raised you, or what kind of life you've lived. When something funny happens, everybody understands it. That's the beauty of shows like Family Feud. They take ordinary people from all walks of life, put them under a little bit of pressure, and suddenly something hilarious happens. Somebody blurts out an answer that makes no sense at all. Steve Harvey reacts in his signature way. And just like that, everybody watching, whether they're in the studio or at home, is laughing together. That's the kind of connection only laughter can create. When a contestant says something outrageous, nobody stops to ask about their background, their beliefs, or their differences. For that moment, none of it matters. What matters is that the answer caught us off guard. It broke the seriousness of the game, and it made us laugh until our sides hurt. That laughter unites people who otherwise might not share much in common. A family sitting in their living room in one part of the country is laughing at the exact same moment as another family thousands of miles away. Two people from completely different worlds find themselves connected through joy. That's the power of laughter. It tears down walls and reminds us of what we share. Part of what makes it so special is that it's real. Laughter on Family Feud doesn't come from a script or a polished comedy sketch. It comes from ordinary people being themselves, blurting out whatever pops into their head when the pressure is on. Because it's authentic, it's even more powerful. People can sense when something is forced, and that never feels the same. But when a moment is raw, unplanned, and completely unexpected, it hits differently. It feels like a shared inside joke, something we were all lucky enough to witness together. And when we laugh together, we bond, even if we don't know each other. Think about how laughter works in everyday life. If you're sitting in a room full of strangers, and somebody says something funny, everybody laughs, and suddenly the room feels warmer. The tension disappears. People feel lighter, closer. That's exactly what happens on Family Feud. The contestant may be nervous. Their family may be stressed. The audience might be holding their breath. But as soon as someone gives a crazy answer and Steve Harvey reacts, the entire room explodes in laughter. In that instant, nobody is competing, nobody is worried. They're just sharing joy. That ripple of laughter moves from the stage to the audience to the viewers at home until millions of people are smiling for the same reason. What's even more powerful is how laughter crosses barriers. It doesn't care about age. You can be a little kid laughing at Steve's expressions or an older person laughing at the absurdity of the answer. It doesn't care about race, gender, or language. Even if you don't catch every word, the body language, the tone, and the pure joy of the moment make you laugh anyway. Laughter is universal, and Family Feud proves it every time a moment goes viral around the world. People from different continents share the same clip online and laugh just as hard as the live audience did. That's proof that humor is one of the most powerful forces of connection we have. And there's something healing about that. The world is full of stress, full of challenges, full of reasons to feel divided. But when people laugh together, all that noise fades away for a while. Laughter reminds us that we're not as different as we sometimes think. We all enjoy joy. We all enjoy a surprise. We all enjoy watching somebody say something so outlandish that it catches everyone off guard. Those moments don't just entertain us. They give us a sense of unity. Steve Harvey often says that joy is a gift, and he's right. Laughter is medicine for the soul. When someone gives a wild answer